Today, I am going to show you the actual, organic flesh tissues of two species of dinosaurs.
What do you have here? What are you
Well,
studying?
this actually is not a bone. These are fragments of a Triceratops horn. But you have to recognize that inside that rock-looking structure are tissue, cells, and protein still there. Here's what we found. Here we have a piece of the horn that has been decalcified, like what I just showed you over on the bench. Mark Armitage was our microscopist working on this, and Mark then took a piece of the decalcified horn and put it under a microscope. See the fibrous material there? That's part of the composition of the bone matrix itself. But what's really of interest is see the white material here on the surface swaying back and forth? That's actual dinosaur tissue on the surface. See, this is not a solid fossil. This has got tissue characteristic to it. See, notice how it flexes back. And that's, of course, very interesting, how you pull on it, flexes back, pull on it, flexes back. That's characteristic of tissue. That's what tissue would do. Now, Mark then was able to extract some very thin layers of elastic material away from the inner core of the horn. But he didn't have to decalcify the horn in order to do this. You can see it's stretchy, it's flexible. In fact, look, notice, see how it's stretching? It's stretching almost to twice its original size of what it was. See, this again is original dinosaur tissue that he's peeled directly from the fossil. There was no decalcification that he did first. See, this is how accessible this tissue was. He didn't have to remove any fossilized bone to get to this tissue. Okay, now, here is a light microscope picture of the tissue itself. You can see the texture of it. And in fact, see, notice the arrows, they're pointing to cells. These cells specifically are what we call osteocytes. Those are bone cells. They're involved in making bone, because even though we think of bone as a rock, bone is tissue.
So I picked up this piece, I looked at it and I said, it's a girl and it's pregnant.
Little did Schweitzer know that discovery would pale in comparison to what she would eventually stumble upon, the world's first fossil soft tissue ever. That would be earth-shattering, because no one believed soft tissue could survive over millions of years, so no one, including Schweitzer, even bothered looking for it.
Thinking like everyone else, there's no organics present in dinosaur bone.
Here's what she found: tissue that was soft and stretchy, not a hardened fossil. She also found translucent blood vessels that looked just like ones from a modern ostrich. Schweitzer couldn't believe her eyes.
I was scared to death. I had goosebumps, and I told my tech, I said, this isn't real. This can't happen. Do it again. We did it, I think, 17 times before I was ready to go public with it, yeah. Most of the vessels that were not treated with hemoglobin were just disintegrating after about 3 days. The ones that we'd soaked in hemoglobin are still sitting in the lab at room temperature. Nothing's happened.
As I was looking in the microscope, the medullary material was no longer hard, and what was left was this curled piece of tissue that I was using forceps to try and flatten out. And when I poked into it, it was spongy. It was flexible and soft tissue.
Flexible tissue from a 68-million-year-old dinosaur?
Blood vessels.
There they are.
Transparent, hollow, pliable, flexible, branching blood vessels that contain small, round, red microstructures floating in the vessels. I said, this is not possible. Do it again. We got another piece of bone. We put it in the solution. We waited 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Looked again, more blood vessels. We must have repeated that with probably 17 or 18 different fragments of bone